The latest. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. Power is sweet. Power is sweet. People are treating us as if we are nothing simple because we have decided to give out our power to other people around the world, and they are doing anything at all that they want to do to us. But all in all, a savior, protector, the unifier, the messiah, the king of kings, the most loved, General Abdurrahman Chiani is saying that as long as I am on my soil and this is my continent, I own the narrative. General Abdurrahman Chiani, the uranium of Niger, has finally hit the international market. And this one is passing through Burkina Faso to Cotonou in Togo to be shipped to the international market. But we don't know the final destination of this uranium. We know that when French company was there in Niger mining this uranium, we were selling it to them at 0.75, let's just say 0.80 cents. But when our all-in-all took office, he changed the narrative, seized everything, and was now selling it at 200 euros per kilo. Look at what we're losing, yet African Union was so silent about it, simply because it was pleasing France. Finally, the Uranium company was so angry because the Nigerian leader all decided to nationalize the uranium. So they took them to the international court, and you know, they said a cockroach can never be innocent in the midst of fowls. So they decided to rule in favor of France. But all in all, General Abdurrahman Chiani said no, as long as he is in the jurisdiction of Africa, nothing of these people applies to him. So he will still go ahead to claim ownership.
Well, Niger says that it is putting uranium produced at a mine run by a subsidiary of a huge French fuel company on the international market. The country's military leaders removed Orano's operational control of 3 of its main mines last year. About a quarter of the uranium supplied to Europe's nuclear power plants come from Niger, and the site in question could produce around 1,300 tons of uranium concentrate, which is worth around 250 million euros. Take a look.
Uranium, a highly sought-after element mined from deep in the Earth's crust, is at the centre of a rift between Niger's military regime and the French nuclear firm Orano. On Sunday, Niger's state television announced that the country's reserves, produced by Semer, will be put on the international market.
Well, for more on this story, we're joined by our international affairs editor, Angela Diffley. Angela, France and the European Union, they're not delighted by this news, are they?
They're not delighted, no. As the president of Niger says, the general who is leading the junta there, this is our uranium. We will sell it to whom we want, as we wish, when we want. And that is the reality. It's true that this idea that some of it has already been seen, there are reports in international media that some uranium has already been taken to Togo, that it will from there go to Russia. These are reports in international media. In some ways, the Americans, the International Atomic Agency, would prefer Russia than Iran, which is one of the other possibilities. If it's going on the international market, you know, France has no way, Europe has no way, nobody else has any way of stopping Niger selling that uranium to whomsoever it wants. What is also worrying is that in order to get from Niger to Togo in West Africa, or to the coast there, it has to cross several areas which are controlled by jihadists, and that in itself is a real security worry for the European Union, for France, that somehow jihadists might get their hands on that uranium as it travels. But the reality is that that is the position we're in. They have chosen to sell it to Russia. Increasingly, as we know, Russia has an important influence in Africa. It is helping many of these former French colonies in their fight against jihadists. Experts don't see their efforts being any more or less successful than the French efforts, but that is what's happening. In France, about 20% of France's own uranium needed for civil nuclear reactors came from Niger. So both France and the European Union are trying to find other avenues of supply because it's an important resource which now has become very complicated to access.
And this is yet more evidence of how French influence, soft power, and commercial interests have plummeted in Africa recently, isn't it?
Yeah, it's such a long way from when this happens every time there is a new French president. There is an attempt to reset relations with Africa in various different ways, ranging from not long after independence to we will work together, we're equals, to further along French presidents saying, we understand you think we're too paternalistic, we need to be more equal, to Emmanuel Macron at the beginning of his presidency saying, we must make this relationship much more about commercial interests. We're all equals again. And it is such a long way from those speeches he gave at the beginning of his presidency. France is disliked in much of West Africa and Central Africa, where it was the former colonial power. Much of this, it is true, there has been some of it that has been deliberately stirred by Russian propaganda, but there does appear to be a dislike of France in that area for whatever reason. It is very useful for various West African and Central African governments where France was the former colonial power to use France as a scapegoat. That is a classic situation. But for a number of reasons, it is easy to do something that will anger France in all of these countries. We're talking about Burkina Faso, of course, Mali, Niger, all of whom have thrown out the French in recent years.
Orano is saying they cannot grant the safety of this uranium because of the route in which they are using to transport this uranium. But I don't see the reason to which Orano should care about whatever that we are not doing in Africa. They also went ahead to tell the world that the 1,000 tons of uranium belong to them because they mined it before they were kicked out or before the dispute. So for that matter, they don't want all in all to have control over this. But you know, when it comes to this, our heroes, our tigers, they said they are going to sell the uranium to the highest bidder. So if you think that Africa is like these ones we have in the democratic elected that you can give them 7% and all in all is saying that no, he is ready to face anything that will come his way. This is what we call power sweet. Power sweet. Because our all in alls are not the weak leaders that we have in Africa. And there are also rumors that this uranium will be sent to Russia, the Russia company Rosato. But we heard that some time back there were some talks with them, but we don't know how things were finalized. So for now, it's just rumors that it's going to be sent to the Russian company. But as it stands now, no one knows the final destination because these our leaders are not joking. They are not just there to please anybody, but to make sure that the African is set free. That is the motive. And this is what we are expecting that African leaders will be doing. How can we have uranium on our continent and other people will come, take control over it, decide what they do? Look at the amount of money they were buying it from us and selling it at 200 euros at the international markets. Look at the unfair treatment that they were giving to us. It wasn't even up to €1. Yet ECOWAS, African Union, were watching all this injustice meted out on the African. And the moment we saw that Niger decided to fight for that uranium and to reclaim everything on their soil, ECOWAS shamelessly and African Union rose up to fight their brothers simply because they have decided to take their sovereignty on their own, to be free and to claim total control over the resources. How do we say we are sovereign, we have our independence, and we are lying to ourselves that we are celebrating Independence Day? Yes, we do not have control over the natural resources that are here. People still decide what should happen to our natural resources, and these are the people who stood down in African Union to claim that they have given sanctions, suspended Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. We are telling you how things should be done, and this is what African leaders you are failing to understand. Instead of you to rise up to do the good things that these leaders are doing, you are there supporting the same oppressors. No wonder you go there and be begging for your own freedom. Captain Ibrahim Traore said, freedom is taken and not given. So if you continue to be singing the same songs and calling for reparation, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are moving in the right direction. And this is what you have failed to do for all these years as African leaders. And shame on you, African Union, because you are not there to fight for the interest and the betterment of Africa. The leaders that are bold to do that, the best thing you can do is to give the leadership mantle to Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso so they can lead us to the freedom we are looking for. Enough of all the pain, the suffering that we have received just simply because of our skin type. And if we want to be free, it is you and I that have to fight for that freedom, because these people are doing everything possible in their power never to allow the African to be free. What a beautiful day in Africa, and our leaders are proving to these people that the black man is capable of managing his own affairs, and we will be free no matter what. Motherland or death. We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we make African great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world in Africa, West Africa, and in Niger.